Hi there, welcome back. So, on our previous lecture, we have learned about class, creating objects, properties, method, and so on. And in this lecture, we're gonna learn few more things about class. So, jumping into my IDE, and I'm gonna create a class. And I hope you can remember the fact that we use the keyword class to define a class. So, let's do that. Class, and I'm gonna name my class school, and I'm gonna end my statement with a colon, right? So my class, boom, there. Now I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm gonna create method or function, you may. So like I said earlier, when you create function in a class, we call it method. So we're gonna define our method with the def keyword, and this time I'm gonna use something like this: underscore underscore init, then to underscore, then self. So what are these things? Well, let me explain what first init is. Well, init is a reserved method in Python classes. It is a constructor in object-oriented concept. This method is called when an object is created from the class, and it allows the class to initialize the attributes of that class. And now I'm gonna explain what self is. This keyword self, what is it? Well, the self represents the instance of the class. By using the self keyword, we can access the attributes and methods of the class in Python. Okay, so now let's set some more attributes, some more parameters, arguments. They all are the same, just interchangeable. So now I'm gonna type let's say if name, then I'm gonna add a comma, then l name, then comma id. So now I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm gonna type self dot if name equals if name, and then I'm gonna call self dot l name equals l name, and then self dot id equals id. So, and now I'm gonna also create an email address, but I don't need to set an individual parameter to initialize my email attribute. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create my students' email address using their first and last name. So this is how you would go ahead and do that. So you type self dot email equals if name plus, for the concatenation purpose, then single quote dot, then exit out of this single quote, plus, for the concatenation purpose again, l name, right? Then plus concatenation purpose, add single quote, then you're gonna type at, let's say any school name, say highschool.com. okay, so this is just an imaginary school that we are trying to create here. So that's my, let's add some word wrap. So view active editor soft wrap. So that's my class with a method. So now we wanna have a second method. Now I'm gonna shift tab, and I'm gonna align my cursor with the def keyword because I want to create another method, and I'm gonna name it, let's say, full name, right? And I'm gonna hit enter, and this time I'm gonna type return, and then self dot f name, then plus, for the concatenation purpose, and then single quote, plus, for the concatenation purpose, self dot l name, and we are pretty much good to go. So now, as far as creating methods were concerned, we are all set. Now we are looking at creating objects for our school class. So the school is generic, a class. What does a school have? Students, right? So we're going to be creating students, and students will be the object of our generic class school. So let's create the object, and objects are what? Unique. So let's call it student1 equals, then I'm gonna call my class school, and I'm gonna get inside the parentheses, then I'm gonna add the name exactly the way I have set up over here in the parameter in the very first method with the init on it. So I'm gonna type, let's say, Abul, add a comma, single quote, Hussein, then add a comma, and my ID, let's say 786. Right now, Control D, I'm gonna duplicate this line of code and I'm gonna change the name. Let's change the object name. So student2 name, let's say John Smith, and his ID to be, let's say, 1000. So now if I hit enter, call my print function and call my object called student1 dot. So let's say if I want to print the full name of my very first student, then I'm gonna call my object called student1, then the method called full name. And now if I right click and run it, see what happens. As you can see that I've got Hussein printed out. It is because I have used self.l name twice, so it should be f name. So now if I right click and run it, it should be Abul Hussein and exactly what I have said. So now if I change student1 to student2, right click, run it, then you'll see John Smith is printed out. Similarly, if I remove this method and if I wanted to access let's say the properties of first name or the ID, if you may, so if it's available, so let's add a dot, and now you see all the methods that are available for this object called student2. So now if I select ID, right click, run it, then you'll see we're gonna get 1000 because 1000 is the student ID for the student2 for this object. So if I change student2 to student1, right click, run it, then you'll see that this time we've got 7, 8 and 6 printed out as an ID for object 1, or you may student1. So this is a full-fledged way of taking advantage of a class. So you group your properties and methods together, and all you have to do is to create your objects, and you should be able to access all the common properties and methods that you have defined on a particular class. It will be available to you, so you do not have to repeat writing codes over and over again for every single student. As you can see that I have set the first name, last name, the variables, or you may the properties for the class, and all I had to do is to simply pass the names of the student and the IDs, and we are good to go. And this will save you tons of time. Not only time, this will also save you typos. So class is super useful, class is highly flexible, and I highly encourage you to practice writing class and get yourself comfortable with this concept. So I'm just gonna wrap this up. I hope this has been informative and you've learned some valuable lesson. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thanks, bye.